Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as you can see here that basically in this lecture we are going to start our discussion over the ports in India. Okay, this is going to be a topic that we are going to start. Okay, ports in India. Talking about this, it is important from the competitive exams point of view because many times you will see that there are the questions in the examination directly from this section. Sometimes the establishment of the port will be asked to you. Sometimes the significance of the port will be asked to you. Sometimes the location could be asked to you. Okay. Sometimes the ports could be asked to you if it's the public port or the privately owned. Okay. And like always, there is always a win-win situation. Either you know the answer or you don't know the answer. This is only the these are only the two scenarios. Okay. Beside them, there is no any scenario that could be workable. Repeat it whether either you know the answer or you don't know the answer. That's it. Okay. So as I have told you, the ports in India, it is the topic that we are going to cover. And at last, we will see the summary of all of these topics. Okay. But before starting all of these, there is a small disclaimer that we are required to understand. So the disclaimer is like the images used in a slide deck are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in this track and you have any concerns or issues, then please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. Now, after understanding this, let's begin with the topic, the ports in India. First, we will see the Kandla Port Trust, which is also known as the Deen Dayal. It is actually the seaport lies in the Kutch district of Gujarat. Constructed in the 1950s as the chief seaport serving the Western India. Like if you see you can see this is the Kandla Fort. Okay. So basically the Kandla Fort is lie in the location where when the India was undivided, there was a nearby port known as the Karachi port. Okay. The Karachi port was there. But what happened when we got independent? Okay, when we got independent, during that time, this region of Western India was actually declared as a region of Pakistan. And the Karachi port, about which I just told you, this Karachi port has been transferred to the newly constructed territory of Pakistan. Okay, then we required a new port that could be built to serve the Western India. In option of this, we had further developed the Kandla port. Kandla port in 1950. Okay. And as I have told you, after the partition of India and Pakistan, because the Karachi port that was used to be our main port during the British time, that port has been transferred to the Pakistan. Okay. The Kandla port, after the reconstruction, was renamed as the Deen Dayal port under the Indian Port Act of 1908. Then we have Paradip port. The Paradip port was opened in 1966. It is an actual natural deep water port on the east coast of India in Jagat Singhpur district of Odisha. Okay, situated at the confluence of the Mahanadi River and the Bay of Bengal. So we can say it is at the position at a place where the Mahanadi River falls into the Bay of Bengal. Like here you can say this is the Paradip port. So here the Mahanadi River falls into the Bay of Bengal. Then we have Jawaharlal Nehru Port. Jawaharlal Nehru Port, also known as Nhava Sheva. It is the largest container port in India. located east of Mumbai in Maharashtra, and basically opened on 26 May 1989. So, if you have ever seen the pictures of the shipments, cargo, containers, and all, then you will notice that the ships generally carrying a large containers, right? These containers are having the baggages and luggages that are to be transported by the ship transportation. Okay, so that's why in India, 1989 was the year when we built a Jawaharlal Nehru port, or also known as the Nyava Sheva port. This port is actually built in order to hosted this large signs of the containers that we have. As we can see, it is located in the east of Mumbai in Maharashtra. Okay, then we have the Mumbai Port Trust. The Mumbai Port Trust is a trust lies midway on the west coast of India, on the natural deep water harbour of Mumbai and Maharashtra. The first of the present day docks of the Mumbai port were built in 1870s in actual. Then we have Vishakhapatnam port. The Vishakhapatnam port was actually opened on 1993. Okay, on December 1993. So you can say basically it was opened during the British era. And it was open, here you can say as a Vishakhapatnam. Actually, it was opened by the Britishers in order to build as a military naval base. Okay. Later on, we further divided it as an, or we further developed it as an important seaport that could be used for the shipments and cargo. Okay. This Vishakhapatnam port is also known as the Vizag, and it is one of the 13 major ports in India. One of the 13 major ports in India, and the only major port of Andhra Pradesh. Alright. It is the second largest port by a volume of cargo handled. The largest port of India by the volume of cargo handling is Mumbai port. The second largest port by volume of cargo handling is Vishakhapatnam port. Then we have the Chennai port. Chennai port, also known as the Madras port, is the second largest container port of India. Is second largest container port of India, and one of the largest port in Bay of Bengal. Okay, here you can see this, the Chennai port. All right, the largest container port is Jawaharlal Nehru Nhava Sheva. Here you can see it. This is the Nhava Sheva. It is actually on western side. Okay, on eastern side, the Chennai is the largest container port, and by total country, it is the second largest container port. Okay, it is the third oldest port amongst the 13 major ports of India, which officially port operations begin in 1881. So we can say the Chennai port actually developed during the British time when they were developing the Chennai and the area of Tamil Nadu as in Madras Presidency. Okay. Then we have the port of Kolkata. The port of Kolkata opened in 1870. It is actually a riverine port. Actually a riverine port in the city of Kolkata, India. Now, what do you understand by the riverine port? What do you get from it? So basically, you can see like majority of the ports, as you can see here, are actually connecting by the oceans, right? Directly, they have a link to the oceans. But here, if you come to this point, there you can notice the Kolkata or the Haldia port. Basically, here, this port is not having the direct access to the sea. What do we mean by this? Basically, if any ship is coming to this Kolkata port, then actually it has to cross the river called Hooghly River. Okay, the Hooghly River is a link between the Kolkata port and the Bay of Bengal. So that's why it is known as the riverine port. It is the oldest operating port in India, constructed by the British East India Company. Like we know, basically the Britishers were the one who established their first colonial territory in Bengal. Okay, after establishing their territory, they built the port of Kolkata as one of their trading center that could be utilized to do the foreign trade. Okay, then we have the Krishnapatnam port. This Krishnapatnam port is also known as KPCL, Krishnapatnam Krishnapatnam Port Corporation Limited. In actually it is a privately built and owned all-weather deep water port on the east coast of India. All-weather means it could be used in summer times, in rainy season, in winter season, in any other season. Okay, there would be no difficulty in accessing this port, so that's why it is known as the all-weather port, and it is lies on the east coast of India. Okay, it is actually located in Nellore district of Andhra Pradesh. Okay, and the Krishnapatnam port, also known as the KPCL, is actually the largest private sector port. Like basically, we know, in order to do the privatization, the government is offering the ports to the private players also. Okay, like majority of the ports are still under the state or the central governments, but some ports are now under the control of the private management. So KPCL is such port which is under the private management, and it is the largest private sector port. Okay, so remember this also. Then we have New Mangalore port. New Mangalore port opened in 1974. It is the deep water all-weather port at Panambur. Here you can say this is the Mangalore port. Okay, all-weather port. It is also located at Panambur, Mangalore in Karnataka state in India. The major imports of the ports are crude and petroleum products, LPG, which means liquidized petroleum gas, the wood pulp, timber logs, finished fertilizers, liquid ammonia, and etc. Okay, the New Mangalore Port Trust had received the Green Tech Environment Award in 2014. Then we have VO Chindambaranur Port, formerly known as the Tuticorin Port. It is lies here in Tuticorin. Okay, you can see Tamil Nadu. It is one of the 12 major ports in India and declared major port on 11 July 1974, and second largest port on Tamil Nadu after the Chennai. Got it? So Chennai is the largest port of Tamil Nadu, and Tuticorin is the second largest port of Tamil Nadu. Then we have Ennore Fort. Ennore Fort, which officially renamed as in Kamarajar Port Limited, it was opened in year of 2001 and located on the Coromandel coast, about 20 km north of Chennai Port in Chennai. Here you can see. It is a 12th major port of India, first port in India which was a public company. Then we have the Cochin Port. The Cochin Port actually opened in 1928 during the British time. It is a major port in the Arabian Sea, Laccadive Sea, and Indian Ocean. Like here is the Cochin Port, here is the Laccadive Sea, here is the Arabian Sea, here is the Indian Ocean. So like you can say majority of the things and majority of the oceans and all generally accessible by this. Okay. and it is lies in the city of Kochi, Kerala. The port is actually governed by the Cochin Port Trust, CPT. Okay, and remember, Cochin is also an important military naval base of India. All right, like we could say, there is a Southern Military Naval Command. Then, one of the India's top-notch natural harbors, the Murmagaon Port. Okay, like here you can see the Marmagaon Port. It is actually a premier hub of maritime trade in Goa. That port was actually developed during the Portuguese time. Okay, and accorded the status of major port in India in 1963 because we got independence from the Britishers in 1947, but the Portuguese left the country nearly about 1962 and beginning of the 1963. So once we got the Marmagao back, we renamed it as a major port in 1963. Here we have finished the topic. Now it's a part for summary. So basically, we have seen the Kandla Port, also known as Deendayal Port, Paradip Port, Jawaharlal Nehru Port, also known as Nhava Sheva, Mumbai Port Trust, Vishakhapatnam Port. We have seen the Chennai Port, Port of Kolkata, Krishnapatnam Port, also known as KPCL, New Mangalore Port, P. Chindabaram Port, also known as Tuticorin. We have seen Annur Port, also known as Kamarajar Port Limited, Cochin Port, and Murmagaon. Okay. So students, here we have finished the topic. It is requested to all of you kindly revise all the facts and figures that we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the next lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture and thank you.